We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast for the secret about time. Nita, what do we want to cover in today's podcast?
So a weird question, well, kind of weird, like why do people refuse to take 20 minutes for something that could save them 20 hours, 20 or 30 hours a week?
Right? Like it is. It's kind of weird. Here's the I think probably the number one reason, Anita, is I think that people don't believe it's true. So people are like, oh, they're gonna try to sell me something, you know, and or it's not gonna work. And so people are so cynical these days that they're just like, yeah, that's not possible. There's no way that it can be done. And so when what's in that 20 minutes? Well, there's a number of different things we talked about in the previous one, in the previous short, like 7 minute podcast. We talked about the boss system and we talked about, DNA for people, business, and life. In the DNA for life, the natural laws, there's over 500 natural laws that have been discovered in the last 30 plus years. And so, in those natural laws, there's 10 of them specifically as it relates to the secret about time. And so, in the secret about time, as we'd mentioned before, we need to learn as business people to think about time like we do money. Like we know in our business, if we invest $10,000 into something, that we need to get 10,000 plus something back. If we do that, we'll have money. If we invest $10,000 into something and we don't get the $10,000 back plus something else, we run out of money. It's not complicated. But in time, business people will tend to think if I invest 10 hours, I'm going to make money. And when we exchange, as we talked about in the last one, we exchange time for money. We always, and I mean always, run out of time. So the secret about time, it's learning how to leverage um, our time, our money. They called the 7 T's to stewardship: time, talents, treasure, trust, truth, temple, thought. So time, talents, treasure, trust, truth, temple, and thought. So the 7 T's to stewardship. Now, years ago, when Life Masteries Institute, a nonprofit organization, um, asked me, and they said, Mark, hey, there's a rumor that you've got an extra 20, 30 hours of free time a week and you own a bunch of companies. How do you do that? And I explained it to them and they said, can you put together 10 videos? And I said, oh, absolutely. And so the first video, the first video is the 3-for-1 principle. It's the concept that if we're good stewards of our 7 T's, that we can for every hour we invest into something, we get, 3 hours back. The simplest example of that is obviously if we hire somebody, it might take us whatever, a few hours and then train them and does that, but then we can get all that back. But if we don't hire them systematically, if we're not using the 530 grid as we talked about last time, if we're not doing the personalities, if we're not onboarding them properly, it's going to cost us time. It's not going to give us time. In the Mach 1 principle, that's day two of the 10 videos. In the Mach 1 principle, often our business or our life starts shaking. Like, so Chuck Yeager is the first human being that ever broke the sound barrier. My good friend, who is an Air Force pilot, he explained the concept to me. So when he got close to Mach 1, going at the speed of sound, when he got close to that, his plane started shaking. Now, other pilots had gotten to that point, but what happened is they turned back because they said, man, if it's shaking this much, once I break the sound barrier, I'm going to disintegrate, because nobody had ever done it before. Chuck Yeager is the first one who Tom Coons, past president of Century 21, says, trusted the integrity of the system. He said the engineers, the ones who designed all of this, they said, I'm not going to die. So you think about that, and it's pretty interesting. And so that's exactly what happened. He didn't die. Once he broke through the sound barrier, he was going so fast. And so that's where you see kind of the cloud, the ring around the plane. They're going so fast that the resistance goes from the front of the plane to the middle or back of the plane. it's going so fast. So it actually takes less energy to go faster. It's a concept that kind of like, really? Yeah, no, that's the science of it. And Stan is the one that actually, when I discovered the secret about time, Stan is actually the one that went ahead. I explained what happened, and he said, "Oh, you're like Chuck Yeager. You're the first. He broke the sound barrier because he trusted the integrity of the system. So you've broke the sound barrier." So that's a really cool, video, and that's like 3 minutes long. So the first one gives more introduction and everything and the history behind it. That's 14 minutes. And then day 3, the life vision and the importance of our life vision. And so, what have you been put on this planet to do? My life vision is to touch every single person in the world, one person at a time, make a huge difference in every aspect of life in a really fun and exciting way. And yes, that's 8+ billion people. So your life vision. So, and it took me 30 years to figure out a system for helping somebody discover their life vision. And so that's shared, in that video. And then the 5 time management freedom fighters, which is delegate, systematize, contract out, hire someone, or partner with someone. When we learn to master that natural law, then we're going to get an abundance of time. So all of these, it's not hard actually to get an extra 20 or 30 hours plus of free time a week. What's hard is to keep it. So these natural laws help us to do it. The 5 H's to success: hope, head, heart, hands, and helping other people. That helps us to value people and things and learn how to properly leverage relationships and connections. The 7 T's to stewardship, I already shared that. The time, talent, treasure, trust, truth, temple, and thought. When we're good stewards of each of these 7 T's, we get more. When we teach everybody else around us to go ahead and do the same thing, we get more. And so the caught in the middle principle states that if we're in the middle of inefficient people, and a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and so if we're surrounded by weak, inefficient people, we too will become weak and inefficient. So we need to not only understand these natural laws for us, but to share them with other people. So when you register for the 20-minute, free gift session, do that with other people, and it can be personal or professional, right? A spouse, children, friends, any of that. The next dimension principle is a fascinating principle. And so, what's a higher number, a 2 or 9? Most people say that a 9 is. And it is in the same dimension. But when we hit a 10, if there's level 1 to 10, we hit a 10, it's not perfection, it's mastery. We move to another dimension, going back to the Mach 1. So a 2 in the next dimension is higher than a 9 in the previous dimension. So what's the difference between doing $1 million in business and 2.5 million, or making $500,000 versus $1 million? It's how we think. We need to learn to think differently. And so the 20-minute, I can assure you haven't experienced anything like it. It's really cool. The 80-20 rule, you probably are familiar with that. 80% of our business comes from 20% of our clients. So that's the familiar one. The 530 grid, that's a really cool one. We kind of went over that a little bit. And then personality masteries, we went over that. So I don't know. There's a lot there. It's 20 minutes, right? And so I would encourage you to register. You got nothing to lose. The 20 minutes, you're going to get more time out of that. You're going to be really surprised. You're going to be like, wow. And there's a number of free gifts in being able to do that and just attending. So hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully you'll register and, invite a couple other people too. Always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.